If you keep training like you're broke, you're probably going to stay broke forever. I see this problem a lot in the gym and across many different domains in people's lives. I'm not sure if this has a commonly accepted name, but I'm going to refer to it as sort of a stingy mindset when it comes to training, to learning, or just sort of doing any sort of hard work. This is when people set themselves some goal. Maybe it's to get fit or to build muscle, to learn a language, or to practice some new sport or skill. They quickly realize that in order to achieve that goal, it's going to take a lot of time and a lot of effort. In other words, it's going to have a high cost in time or effort. And of course, people don't want to pay that cost. So instead, they end up trying to find a way to pay less, to invest less, and try to get the same gains on sale. And inevitably, that just leads to the following. They just go through the motions and make a token effort. Unfortunately, I'd say that most people I see in commercial gyms are doing exactly this. They think they're there doing the bare minimum, but they're actually doing less than that. They go to the gym, but they're not really paying attention, they're not trying hard, and they're not really trying to get better over time. Because at some level, they've convinced themselves that in order to actually get the results they want, they have to pay more than they're willing to give. They don't want to take steroids, so they think they can't be a bodybuilder. They know they're not going to be the world's strongest man, so they think they can't really get stronger at all. So they look at all these premium, exceptional results, which are, of course, very high cost. Obviously, the people at the top of any sort of field are paying the most to be there. They're giving everything to be there at the top. They're paying a cost way higher than you or I would be willing to pay. And of course, it's fine not to be willing to pay such high costs, to invest so much of yourself in these endeavors. I don't want to either. I want to train and move to improve my life, not to replace it or take it over. The problem comes when we're unwilling to invest enough time and effort to actually make a meaningful difference in our lives. So people end up actually lifting for zero gains at all. They put effort and time in, but they get nothing out. They put in something and they get back nothing. I saw this a lot at the beginning of my journey to learn French as well. People will think, oh, well, I'm never going to speak like a native without any accent. And so then they'll implicitly doom themselves to never make progress at all. So I went to a lot of French classes, starting at the A1 or like the easiest level and progressing through them. And to be honest with you, most of the people that were in the classes with me would show up to class every single week without having done the homework. In their minds, it was too costly in terms of time and effort to do the homework. But somehow it was not too costly to spend an hour and a half every week in French class not making progress in French. And it just boggled my mind because I was there to learn, not to convince some third party that I was committed to learning. So I was going to do whatever was required to learn. Now, I won't say that these people made literally zero progress. They slowly added some new vocabulary and they learned some stock phrases, but they're not able to have full fluent French conversations and they don't speak French with their friends. And so in terms of real, actual return on investment in their lives, it's next to nothing. By trying to save time and effort to not go all in on learning, they do end up spending less time and effort, but they get back for it literally nothing, compared to me, who did a bit more work, but got infinitely more return on investment. These casual gym goers often do the same. By trying to avoid spending too much time or effort, they still end up spending some, but never really make a level of progress that would actually bring them deep satisfaction and motivation. And so it then becomes a vicious cycle because it's that very satisfaction, enjoyment you get of really going through a struggle and then overcoming it that actually motivates you to work harder and to eventually increase your level of investment in any activity over time. So when you have a stingy mindset, you spend little, but you earn less. Instead, I think it's much more productive to train like you're rich. Be willing to invest enough time and energy to actually get the results you want. Now, this doesn't mean that you have to maximize your time and energy inputs. In fact, I think many minimal training methods like high intensity can be really efficient and effective, but the key here is that they're minimal in that they do just enough to actually make gains and progress over time. Just going to a language class but not doing the homework isn't going to be enough. Just going to the gym and lifting with no intent, no intensity, and no thoughtful progression over time isn't going to be enough for most people. So being in it for the long haul requires being honest with yourself. If you aren't progressing, then you need to change something, and that might mean putting a little bit more in order to actually get something of value out. So it's about making wise investments. Spend your precious time and energy on things that actually will make a tangible impact on your life. And do that early and often. If you ruthlessly conserve your time and energy afraid to actually spend it, then your life will pass you by and you won't have moved any closer to your goals. So don't be stingy, be savvy where you invest your precious training time and energy. Thanks so much for watching. Let's get strong for life together.